Welcome to Beyond the Needle. This is our series for our cosmetic and derm MPs who are building businesses, not just practicing clinically, or who are building businesses or helping someone else build their business, and they're really invested in that. Today, we're going to kick off with our Build a Career as a Cosmetic NP. This is an extension of a series that we've already done on the Mahogany Dermatology blog, where we talked about different pathways to get into the cosmetic industry. And we started with cosmetic nurse practitioners, then we went into cosmetic chemists, biomedical engineers, chemical engineers. Today, I want to start by challenging something that you probably believe, which is that you need to take Botox or a filler course to get started in cosmetics. And that's just not true. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want to be a cosmetic provider, hands-on with patients, absolutely, you'll need training. But here's what I want you to understand. Being an injector is just one way to build a career in this industry. There are chemists, engineers, educators, consultants, investors, and so many other roles that need your nursing expertise. In the upcoming weeks, we're going to break down different pathways so you can find your best fit. And in fact, in my book, Nursing Aesthetics, an Introductory Guide for Nurse Practitioners, Entrepreneurs, chapter chapter 43, we talk about 20 different ways that you can build a business in this industry. But today, we're going to start with the most well-known one. That's your cosmetic NP, the hands-on provider. And by the end of this episode, you'll know if this path is right for you, what it really takes to succeed, and the unfiltered truth nobody talks about in those $5,000 injection courses. So I'm Kimberly Madison. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner and the founder of the Alliance of Cosmetic Nurse Practitioners, which is a professional membership for our cosmetic NPs who specialize in business. And we're a professional membership that picks up where your on-demand weekend course or academic program leaves off, providing that ongoing coaching and mentorship. If you're new to coaching and mentorship, which a lot of people are because we don't give that advice enough, so the first thing you have to understand, you go to nursing school or NP school, they don't tell you everything you need to know. You have experienced that the minute you've walked on whatever clinic or setting that you're working in, and you realize you have a lot to learn. That's because you didn't learn everything there. So you need ongoing guidance, and not just from people who give you a check. So that's mentorship. And that mentor you should have mentors in and outside of your industry, but they support you as the person. So if and when your desires change, your goals change, your commitment, your interests, they continue to support you as your life continues to evolve. Providing guidance, access, opening doors. They're giving you their time and leveraging some of their expertise. Now, the coach, they're there to get things done. And a lot of times they're going to give you systems that they're already proven to work, just like that evidence-based practice data that we talk about in our nursing practice. That coach is going to help you identify some goals and some actions that you can take. In fact, we're going to try to find the action that has the least resistance, that you can take the fastest and take that action. It's all about that compound interest. What's one thing you can do now to move the needle forward? And each day we're going to keep asking that question to move the needle forward. It's not about perfection and having everything in place. It's about starting. That's how you learn. You start by doing. And that's the difference between coaching and mentorship. And the people who have that information have invested to get that information, both in time and money, and they're in a position and willing to share it with you. Especially when you talk about entrepreneurship and business, we love this stuff. We want you to love it too. And we know that there are challenges and barriers when it comes to that. And there's the experience itself, the loneliness, the imposter syndrome, the decision fatigue, feeling overwhelmed, feeling burnt out. But when you're in a room with other people who have figured out how to push through that, who have drunk the Kool-Aid, you can spend so much more time building your business, which requires a lot of time and energy, as opposed to trying to convince other people or having to fight through all those things all the time. You can lean on us. That's what the community is for, to lean on us when you need to get pulled up. And when we need to get pulled up, we'll lean on you, and we work together in a way that's very collaborative and competitive. So the link to join is below. Right now, the doors are open for becoming a founding member. And that is something that you will be able to maintain for the lifetime of your membership as long as you stay in good standing. You can email me, you can sign up, you can schedule a video call if you have questions about it. Um, you can even sign up for a free workshop coming up this December 15th, 18th, and 19th, where we're giving you a peek inside the Alliance, one of our workshops. This was a question that we got from the community on 10 profitable paths beyond Botox. Because the struggle is so real, either you don't have the investment or you have made the investment in your first Botox course, but then you don't have a pathway when it comes to practicing. And we know if you don't use it, you will lose it. And so that has led a lot of people who have struggled to find mentorship or employment to then go start their own business, even though they don't really have the skill set or the confidence or even the clientele. And so they're investing even more money to start that business, concierge, brick and mortar, salon suite, devices. And we see that without the proper community, mentorship, guidance, coaching, accountability, support system, strategy, that within that first 2 to 3 years, which is a very vulnerable time for all businesses, that they're going bankrupt, shutting down, selling everything and starting over, or leaving the industry altogether. I'm just not understanding the market, what it means to be saturated, what it means to be competitive, what it means to practice with people who are not medical professionals, the ethical concerns that you have. And so that also becomes a little bit of a culture shock for some people. And so what we know is that when you go to nursing school, they don't cover skin of color enough, right? When you go to a derm event, they don't cover entrepreneurship. And when you go to a cosmetic event, they don't cover advanced nursing practice. And so you tend to be struggling a little bit trying to piecemeal a lot of things together. And so from that understanding, the Alliance of Cosmetic Nurse Practitioners was founded specifically for you, who fits each one of those categories and is looking for support, because on every day you show up with all three of those identities. So links below, I invite you to check it out. Before we get into our topic for today, we're going to do our devotional, which is something we do here every time. So at the time of this recording, I just announced our new time. So new videos will come out every week, Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Central Time. I record batch content every once in a while. I do a bunch of videos at one time live. And at that time, if you're subscribed, you'll get notified immediately when I go live. And if you have the notification bell, you'll be notified as soon as new videos pop up. But when you join me live, not only am I not here alone, I get to answer your questions directly in real time. So you don't have to schedule an interview or schedule a meeting or wait for me to respond to your DM or email. I can answer it right now. And then you get to have say so in how this video goes. I came out with my own plan, but if you pop up in the comments and you have questions and that's the direction you want to go, then that's the direction we take it. And that's what the Alliance members experience. Of course, I understand the market, collect the data, continue to stay abreast of what's going on, and listen to all of our clients and what they need. But our members right there, if they say, this is what I need right now, this week, at this time, then that's the direction that we go. So unlike school where you have a syllabus that's concrete, I've never been in a program where they change the syllabus throughout the course. Our syllabus is a direct reflection of our members, not the other way around. And that's how it should be. Okay. You can ask for anything in my name, and I will do it, so that the Son can bring glory to the Father. What do you need to be honest with God about today? Take a deep breath and then talk to him about what's on your mind. Amen. Okay, so here are the 5 critical topics that we're going to break down. Number 1, what the role actually is. Beyond injections, what are you really signing up for? Number 2, the market reality, growth, AI, bottlenecks, and where the opportunities are. Number 3, your path options as employee, founder, or investor. Which one fits your goals right now? Number 4, what you need before you start. Education, mentorship that we talked about, crossover skills that really matter, and the unfiltered truth. Why they don't tell you in those Instagram ads for injection what they don't tell you in those Instagram ads for injection courses. So number 1, What the role actually is. What is a cosmetic nurse practitioner? So, by definition, a cosmetic NP is that hands on provider. This is the clinician who meets with patients, assesses their concerns, develops a treatment plan, and executes procedures like injectables, lasers, chemical peels, microneedling, and more. This is the person the patient sees. You're the face of the practice. You're the one building trust, managing expectations, and delivering results if you choose to be the face of the practice. Now, here's what makes this role unique. It's not just clinical. It's a blend of clinical expertise, that's your anatomy, pharmacology, safety protocols, artistic vision, facial aesthetics, symmetry, proportions, patient psychology, managing expectations, body dysmorphia, self esteem. And my favorite, sales and marketing. Yes, you're selling. We'll get into this more later. And this is the heartbeat of the alliance because this is where we saw over a year, 5 years of collecting data on this industry. And when it comes to dermatology nursing practice specifically, and those who take the route of becoming an entrepreneur and entering business, that was the one thing that's glaringly missing. Even with everything that exists right now, everyone was struggling with sales. And so that's the heartbeat of what we do in the alliance. So at the foundation of everything you do is nursing ethics. So you need to understand what that means because no one else is going to understand that. Even if they've been in business for 20 years and they're hiring you, they can be a medical director, they can be a key opinion leader, they can be the face of the latest conference. They don't understand nursing ethics, but you're supposed to. That's part of our foundations. And it's available. You can go look it up. This is what sets us apart from estheticians, especially from unlicensed providers, from people who took a weekend course and think they're qualified. We have a code of ethics. We have a scope of practice. We have accountability. As a cosmetic NP, you're not just doing this, you're providing medical care in an aesthetic context, and that's a profound amount of responsibility, and a lot more responsibility than you might have expected just looking at things on social media. Now, let me give you some context. Cosmetic medicine wasn't always mainstream. Before Botox was approved for cosmetic use in 2002, this was a very niche field. Plastic surgeons did facelifts, dermatologists did chemical peels, but the injectables, that was like a new thing. In the 90s is really when we started to see that, and nurses were being trained by plastic surgeons on what to do. And at that time, it wasn't really seen as real medicine. And so they were happy to delegate it and teach nurses. And really, nurses have really owned that space, especially when it comes to the education. And you don't have to take my word for it. These are people who've been doing this since that time who will gladly tell you the history and how things have evolved. Maybe I need to talk. Actually, you know what? I need to invite them on and talk to them on either on the podcast or our new series, the Founders Series. More on that soon. So the approval of Botox democratized aesthetics. Suddenly, you didn't need surgery to look refreshed. You could get a quick procedure over your lunch break, and this created massive market opportunity, one that we as NPs stepped into. Now, over the decades, getting work done was secretive. People didn't talk about it, and in some circles, that's still the case, but social media has changed this dramatically. Now, very normalized, celebrated. Patients post their before and afters. We encourage you to collect them and share them, and you show off your techniques. The conversation moved from shadows into the spotlights. This is both a blessing and a curse. It created a huge demand, but it also created a lot of noise, a lot of unqualified providers, and a lot of unrealistic expectations. Your role is to navigate the landscape with integrity. Now, this evolution reminds me of conversations from thought leaders like Dominic Eccarelli. He's the director of tech innovation and augmented beauty at L'Oreal, R&I Augmented Beauty, who has a passion for revolutionizing traditional beauty practices with technology, including Melasil, which you should be very familiar if you know anything about the La Roche line. And he just landed, or their whole team just landed on Time's Best Innovations of 2025 list. He's also an alum of Carnegie Mellon University and Pratt Institute. who named him the winner of the Carnegie 2025 Tartans on the Rise Award, and other business strategists like Jasmine Star, my business coach, who have talked about building personal brands in saturated markets. As cosmetic NPs, we need to understand both the clinical and the business role. I learned about Dominic by attending Afrotech. Now, by the way, L'Oreal is hiring, and before I came on, I looked to see just to browse and see what opportunities are there, and there's quite a few different things, including marketing and sales, and there's a medical tab, and when you click on the medical one of the opportunities is up right now is aesthetic business manager. So you can go head over there and apply if you're interested. Now let's talk numbers. And if you are really interested and you want to put your best foot forward, I would love to hop on a video call with you and strategize about how you can really prepare for that interview. I would love to be part of that. So let's talk numbers. And by the way, if the job requires you to be at headquarters, because we asked, headquarters is in New Jersey. Now, I don't know if there's like remote opportunities or anything like that, but just so you know. So let's talk numbers, because if you're thinking about this as a career, you need to understand the market you're entering. The growth. The medical aesthetics market is projected to grow $13 billion. It was projected $13 billion from 2024 to nearly $15 million by the end of this year. Massive growth. Non-invasive procedures dominate. So that's your Botox, fillers, lasers, body contouring. These are what patients really want. At least that's the first, that might be like an entry point, because even plastic surgery, I feel like, is being more normalized. And some of the people I watch, they're typically seeing skin of color and older adults. And I just love the transformation because they look so much just like themselves and so refreshed. And I feel like that's doing a beautiful job with really helping change the stereotype and the messaging out there that everybody wants to look done or not look like themselves. And I just think what's being done right now is beautiful. One of the people I follow is Dr. Truesdale. He has his own YouTube channel. He's out there on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. And he's doing he even did his mother. And I just think he's doing just a beautiful job showcasing and doing some education too on what to expect, and just how the enhancements just make you look like yourself, right? I think that's like the biggest thing people are concerned about. And even he doesn't really get into the finances of it. And I guess you can make a lot of assumptions about what people are able to afford. But I think even with the diverse clientele that he's showcased, I think he's also done a really good job of even dismantling that, thinking that it's only for a certain type of person. So, but right now, your non-invasive fillers are really what's getting people through the door initially. So they want results without surgery, without the downtime or as much downtime, and ideally at an accessible price point. Now, our big players, we're talking Allergan Aesthetics. They make your Botox and Juvederm. Revance, they make Daxify. Galderma, shout out to my friend out there in Maryland. Dysport, Sculptra, these are leading the growth, right? They're investing in new products, new training, new marketing. But here's what's interesting. And we talked about Allergan on the blog earlier this year, because during the pandemic, they had their Dream Initiative. We did 2 articles earlier this year on that, on their Dream Initiative, and then a big study that they did surveying women of color and how their perceptions of beauty. Really wonderful results. They even put together a visual image library on diverse models. When I wrote that article, though, it didn't seem like that program was still active. But you can find the results and the story behind it and the purpose behind it. And I don't know if that, because now you can really find diverse images anywhere, including Canva. So I don't know if that was they were like the pioneers in that, because now it's everywhere. Because they are charging for their images now. I don't know if they were charging for it at the time of the initiative. And so I was having a hard time kind of figuring out why I would pay for those images specifically when I can go somewhere else and get them. But you can take a look and you can give me your opinion. So here's the interesting thing. The growth has created bottlenecks. So bottleneck number 1, which the lack of standardized training. There's no universal curriculum. right? That's leaving you guys struggling. That's why we wrote Nursing Aesthetics, an interactive guide for nurse practitioners and entrepreneurs to provide a bit of standardization, but also to help you as you go out here and evaluate all these different programs, because how do you know one from the other? So in here, like we talked about on a previous video, created a scorecard so you can score all the different programs. They might not all get a 10, but it'll give you something to compare them to, and also questions to ask before, during, and before your investment, and during training, so you can actually have a good expectation that you're going to get the best return on your investment. So there's no universal curriculum for aesthetic providers. You can take that 2-day course and start injecting, or you can do a year-long fellowship. We know the quality varies widely. That's one of the criticisms. And this creates a lot of risk for patients and for our profession. When unqualified providers cause complications, it damages trust in all of us. Then we have the bottleneck number 2. This is that inconsistent regulations. Every state has different rules. Some states require physician supervision, some don't. Some allow NPs to own their own practices, some don't. This fragmentation has made it very hard for even patients to know who's qualified, and hard for providers to navigate the legal landscape. Number 3, lack of representation. This is the big one as far as I'm concerned. Most aesthetic training has been designed for lighter skin, and that goes all the way back to dermatology. If you're an NP who wants to serve patients of color, and especially if you are a person of color, you're going to struggle to find quality training that addresses the unique needs of melanin-rich skin, unless you come over to the Alliance, so you come over to the Alliance. We have weekly workshops on skin of color. Of course, we have our annual conferences like the Skin of Color Society, which by the time you're watching this, I believe one of our guest contributors on the Mahogany Dermatology blog, Leslie Thompson, who's an NP student, earlier this year, she wrote her experience, her first year in aesthetics. And then we just dropped her second article, which is a review of the Skin of Color Society conference. So you can check that out depending on when you're watching this. So there are opportunities to get education, but you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional and go seek it out. But otherwise, you're going to struggle to find that quality training that addresses the unique needs of melanin-rich skin. This is a huge problem in nursing. Hyperpigmentation risk, keloid formation, cultural beauty standards. These are the real considerations that most courses simply don't cover. And this is your massive opportunity. And in addition to this book helping you evaluate courses, we do include Skin of Color cosmetics. It just wouldn't be Mahogany Dermatology if we didn't. So we do cover that as well. This way you just understand the landscape. What conditions are being treated? What are the most common treatment options? And where you can really make your mark. Of course, AI is changing the game. Artificial intelligence is already being used for virtual consultations and try-ons, showing patients what results will actually look like. We love that. Advanced skin analysis, identifying issues that naked eye might miss. In fact, when I went to Afrotech and Dominic was on the stage, he was talking about their skin analysis, which we'll cover either in another video or an upcoming article. Just the incredible technology, how it's being utilized in beauty, and how those disciplines cross paths and work together. It's just fascinating to me. Symmetry analysis and treatment planning, patient management and follow-up. And I just think, particularly because of that lack of dermatology and nursing education, technology is really our best friend. Especially if you are practicing in a provider shortage area, you need that. Even if you're working in a practice where there's other people who can answer your questions, they can't answer all your questions every single second that you need it, depending on the structure. I haven't worked in a place like that yet. And so technology is one of the next best things, especially when it's designed by clinicians who have been doing this for a really long time. So the future, AI will help us deliver more consistent, personalized, data-driven care. That personalization is key, especially when we're talking about AI. Being able to have that personal touch in the world of tech is really going to be the premium service. And the key is, remember, it's a tool. It's not a replacement. It's meant to mimic your brain, not your mind. It augments your judgment, but it doesn't replace it. But it will replace those who don't know how to use it. So what does this mean for you if you're an entrepreneur? It means the bottlenecks aren't roadblocks, they're opportunities. All this is happening for us. You want to stand out? You can specialize in skin of color or technology. You want to build trust? Offer transparent, evidence based care. You want to scale? Use AI tools to improve your consistency and outcomes and your efficiency. We talked about that in the last video when we talked about what we can learn from Halo Braid. The market's growing, the demand is there, and the question is, how will you position yourself? So let's say you've decided that you want to be a cosmetic nurse practitioner. What does that actually look like? There are 3 main paths, and each one is completely valid. You just need to pick the one that aligns with your goals. So first you have the employee. Everyone knows this one. Remember the 4 quadrants? We've talked about 4 quadrants multiple times from the cash flow quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. Everyone is raised to be an employee unless you grew up with entrepreneur parents or community. This is where you work for someone else. Medical spa, plastic surgeon, derm practice. The pros: steady income, salary or hourly, maybe commission, no business management burden. Someone else handles marketing, admin, overhead. Mentorship opportunities. You learn from experienced clinicians and focus just on patient care. The cons: limited autonomy. You follow someone else's protocols and vision. Income ceiling: you're capped by salary or commission structure. You're never going to make more than the person who owns the business. And you have less control over your schedule and the patients that you see. This path is great if you're new to aesthetics and you want to learn. You don't want to stress about business ownership, or you value stability over autonomy. Number 2, the founder. This is where you can launch your own practice. You're the CEO, the lead provider, the brand architect. The pros: complete autonomy. You set the vision, the culture, and the standards. You have unlimited income potential. You keep the profits. The ability to serve your community your way, especially important if you want to focus on underserved populations. The cons: high startup costs, equipment, space, insurance, licensing, business management burden. You're responsible for everything, or putting the people in place who will help you be responsible and manage everything. The financial risk: if the practice fails, you're on the hook. This is a great path if you have business acumen or you're willing to learn it. You have a clear vision for the type of practice you want to build. You're willing to take on financial risks for a long-term reward. Number 3, might be my favorite, the investor. This is where you use your clinical knowledge and capital to invest in aesthetic businesses, technologies, and startups. The pros: passive or semi-passive income. I don't really believe in passive income myself. Leverage your expertise without hands-on clinical work, and help build the industry by supporting the innovation. The cons: requires capital to invest. You need money. Requires business and financial literacy, which you can start building today, and the risk of losing your investment. And we talk about this every week in the Alliance, helping you build your business acumen so you can make smart decisions and learn how to identify. Actually, that's a good workshop we need to cover, how to identify a good investment. This path is great if you have capital to deploy or you have access to it. You're interested in the business side more than the clinical work. You want to support other entrepreneurs while building wealth. Which path is right for you? That depends on your goals, your risk tolerance, and your season of life. And the truth is, you don't have to just pick one forever. Many successful cosmetic NPs start as employees, become founders, and eventually investors. It's a progression, not a fixed identity. Before we go further, if you're getting value from this series, I want to hear about the other career paths in cosmetics. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and notify the bell. If you want to hear about these other career paths and you want to be notified as soon as we drop new videos talking about them. I go live every once in a while doing these batch content days where we drop new videos for you every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central on YouTube and on LinkedIn. And when we go live and you're able to be there in real time, I answer your questions directly. So let's talk about what you need before you get started. The education. First, you need to become a nurse practitioner. That means your BSN or your Bachelor of Science in Nursing, your Master's of Science in Nursing. And this is where you can become this is where you will become board certified NP. Now, and so that's typically your FNP, adult gero. Typically, that's primary care. That's going to prepare you to be outpatient. But I do know there are some cosmetic NPs who are acute care nurse practitioners. So I don't know what challenges they face, but if you're starting off and you don't have a desire to work in the hospital, you should probably just do and you want to do the adult gero path, adult gerontology, seeing adults, which means starting at age 12 and up. Then I would pick adult gerontology primary care nurse practitioner, and then you pick your board certification that you're going to do, which is an exam after you graduate. So you're either going to do the AANC one or AANP, and they describe them as one is more clinical than the other. Um, that's a video for another day, but I did ANCC. So the cost here. Oh, and then if you want, or your school forces you, you can get your doctorate. So that's your DNP, Doctor of Nursing Practice, or PhD. And in both cases, you can still be an NP, you can still see patients, you can still do research, you can still own a business. So the difference is really what kind of research you want to be a part of, because you're going to do research either way. So I'll just leave that at that. I've talked a lot about the differences between these degrees all year long, and in the state of nursing practice, in the state of nursing education white paper for 2025, which is available in the Mahogany Dermatology Nursing Bookstore, which is also where you can get this book, Nursing Aesthetics. You can get it in the bookstore, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or wherever books are sold. And thank you to we made our first purchase in the UK. So thank you so much for that. Which, since I've seen you, I watched the Beauty Beat, which is the UK's only luxury beauty event for women of color. It was live in November. Yeah. But they're going to re-air it on their YouTube channel. So you can look out for that. And they're on Instagram. So what's the cost? Well, it's going to vary. Some private programs cost over $100,000. On average, DNP programs up to $120,000, but you can get it lower than that. On the Melanin Initiative podcast, we have showcased Dr. Demetrius Kirk from Detroit, which is where the next DNPs of Color conference will be, now residing in Honolulu. He's the founder of SMK Medical. He worked the ladder in nursing. He started as a CNA. He just got his DNP. He also has his MBA. He's a licensed nursing home administrator, serial entrepreneur, podcast host, good friend of the show. And he allowed us to follow his journey through his DNP program. And we talked multiple times about money and the cost of his program. Very, very affordable. He's been very transparent about that. You can check out that on the Melanin Initiative podcast on YouTube, LinkedIn, and all your favorite podcast apps. And in fact, me and him just earlier this year, we talked about nursing education. There's the Doctor of Nursing Practice. They released a report on the state of nursing, doctoral nursing education. There was a report released this year. He was kind enough to sit down and chat with me about that. And then because of what's going on right now with the Big Beautiful Bill, I re-aired it just this month, last Tuesday. So you can catch that on LinkedIn, or you can just go over to YouTube. We have a playlist, probably nursing education or becoming Doctor of Nursing Practice. And you can find those videos there and hear about the school that he attends and how much he pays, which I feel like I think the school he was at Aspen, and it was like $25,000. It was very affordable, very affordable. I digress. So anyway, once you're licensed, you need aesthetic specific training. And here's where it gets a little tricky, because there's no standardized path or mandates. So short courses, anywhere from a weekend, maybe even some on-demand modules that you take over the course of a few weeks. On average, the starting one might be around $2,000, but that's basic. So there's like a basic Botox, basic filler, advanced filler, and then all your different other modalities of treatment will have their own figure. Depending on where you're going and how much support they offer you outside of the courses will depend on how much you're going to pay. And those are good for getting started. You have your preceptorships, is where you work alongside an experienced injector for weeks or months. This is great for hands-on. Some people try to do this while they're still getting their clinical hours. Your school might limit what they're willing to accept. They might say, oh, we'll only accept 40 hours. But if you find a place that's willing to let you come on, ask them to let you stay on for as long as you can. That's the pro tip fellowships, but it's still never going to compare. 3 months or 6 months is still never going to compare to someone who has 2 years or more, which is what people want when they're looking to hire someone, which I don't know why people are so surprised by that. They find that out after they've taken their training. And then fellowships, I don't know that there are that many in cosmetics. Certainly you can get a few. There's some in dermatology. We know specifically the first and oldest is the Leahy Dermatology Fellowship up in Massachusetts, which is overseen by Victoria Garcia. She was kind enough to be one of my first interviews on the Mahogany Dermatology blog 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago now, and it's been one of our most read articles on the blog. Anything related to fellowships and education has been the most read articles. And right now we have 17 dermatology fellowship and training programs for NPs on the blog, which are all listed on one page. That is our number one clicked video article. And it shows you how in demand it is. And so those fellowships and like these kind of training programs that are really formalized. So you'll get training by the so the place that's hiring you, they will do some training for you, and they'll typically have you stay on 2 or 3 years because of that. You can go to university. There's a few. We know Florida Atlantic University in Florida with Dr. Patricia Delgado, who's head of faculty. At the time that you're watching this, she hasn't appeared yet, but we have already recorded her interview for the Melanin Initiative. She was kind enough to sit with me and answer a bunch of questions about the program that you guys have shown a lot of interest in. So they do exist, and it's the most in demand thing is the education. So my recommendation, don't rely on just one course. You need didactic education. This is your anatomy, pharmacology, complications management, and this is one of the reasons the Alliance was founded. So when it comes to nursing education, we have our didactic courses and we have our clinical training. And there's education still happening there too. Didactic, that's where you're reading a book, you're getting a lecture, you're hearing about theory, you're in simulation lab. This is the foundation so that when you show up in some clinical setting to actually take care of a patient, you understand the setting and what your role is. That's missing in cosmetics. And it's really missing in dermatology too, because we don't have any of it. So you're showing up in clinic without a foundation to stand upon. And that's why the struggle is so hard. That's why the learning curve is so steep. That's why the demand for experienced clinicians is so prevalent, because this is a very important part of our learning. Now, in nursing specifically, that didactic training has components. There's that basic level that everybody's supposed to get, and then you go to the next level. So first it's that entry level, and then you do it again. So you do pharm, you do anatomy and physiology, you do your health assessment, and then when you go on to become a nurse practitioner, you do the next level. You build on this foundation. Very hard to build on something that doesn't exist. And so that was a big gap that we noticed when it comes to dermatology and cosmetics in nursing specifically. And that's one of the other foundations of why the Alliance exists. We're there to provide that didactic education. So let's say you start with a weekend course or an on-demand course or an academic program. The learning needs to continue. That's what you guys are even talking about. That's why you're looking for a mentorship. You're looking for a job because you want to build on that. So we're there to help build on that. Or we could be your starting foundation so that when you show up at that on-demand course, the weekend training, that academic program, you have something that's familiar. So then you're not hearing it for the first time, and that learning curve isn't so steep, and you're not feeling so overwhelmed, and that imposter syndrome won't be so severe or last as long. Didactic education is very, very important, and they complement each other extremely well. Even your clinical practice is only going to be as strong as what you're doing at home, your own self-discipline. Very, very important. Okay, so you understand, and we have the hands-on training. When people think of nursing, this is what they're thinking of, the hands-on part. This is why we struggle with our identity so much, because we think we're only a nurse if we're doing something with our hands that involves a patient. So in that white paper, we also try to break that down. Every time I come on, I try to show you the definition of nursing is much, much more broad than just taking care of patients. Much, much more broad. And your value, what you gain, the data that you have is bigger than just taking care of the patient. And when we as a profession understand that, we will go so much further. And there's a lot of people out here who think like this, who are trying to push that needle forward too. So I thank them. And then that ongoing mentorship, which is very valued in cosmetics. We see people asking for this all the time. This is someone to call when you have questions or complications, someone who is willing to answer your call when you call or call you back, some kind of agreed upon time frame, both for daily, mundane questions as well as emergencies. You got to have a plan in place. And it might be free. You might have to pay for that access to that kind of support. It's worth it. Struggling to get mentorship, which is why the first book I ever wrote is the mentorship match to help you get quality mentorship for both of you. It's like dating. It's not just about you getting what you need. It's about making sure that that other person, that it's mutually beneficial for both of you. And so here's what most cosmetic programs don't teach you: the business skills, right? The financial management, how to price your services, manage overhead, calculate ROI, marketing, establish your P&L statements, marketing, how to attract and retain patients, and also whether or not you should have a CPA, an accountant, a financial advisor, marketing, how to attract and retain patients. You will get some marketing. And you need to keep getting it and understand the difference between marketing and sales. Marketing is how you attract someone. Sales is how you convert them into someone who gives you money. And then what that marketing looks like, I don't want to get too bogged down in that because that's a big, big passion of mine. And I can talk a little bit too long about that. And then sales. Yes, you will be selling. That might be a surprise to some people. You can't not be a part of that. And the more comfortable you are doing it, talking about it, learning about it, you're probably going to put yourself at the front of the line for people who get hired. Because the person that you're working for, depending on where they are when it comes to sales and marketing, don't have time, aren't interested, or could use your help. Even putting together a sales team, which I think would be a wonderful solution for a lot of you who are struggling in that area. And to just speed things up. Chemistry and formulation knowledge. So this is understanding ingredients in skincare products, how to evaluate new devices and technologies, and then the science behind what you're recommending. These crossover skills are separate your good providers from great founders. And you don't have to know everything up front, but just knowing that this is part of the trajectory of what you're going to learn. Now, your action step: before, during your first year in aesthetics, take a foundational course in business management or entrepreneurship. Marketing and branding, there's some great books. We call it The Law of Branding, The Law of Marketing. Chemistry or cosmetics, you don't need a full degree, just foundational knowledge. It will give you a competitive edge. When it comes to mentorship, non-negotiable. You need a mentor. A great mentor is going to provide you that clinical guidance, business advice, and emotional support. This is a very stressful medicine, nursing, very stressful business. Even more so, you need someone who's been there, who is there, who's going to be with you as you continue to go there. How to find a mentor: networking at conferences, LinkedIn, and join professional organizations only if they're in alignment with what you want to do and you can be involved. It doesn't really do anything to have it on your resume, right? They need help and you need mentorship. So pay for membership where you're going to show up and be active, right? Move the mission forward. And then that opens you up to so many more possibilities on what's actually out here and how you can contribute value. Reach out to providers you admire. Be respectful and clear about what you're looking for. And the real key is that mentorship is a two-way street. Whoever you're asking to mentor you is already has a full schedule, already has a full life, right? You're asking to squeeze into that. So how can you relieve some of that burden that they have, some of that weight, and make their lift a little easier? That's really it. Don't just take, give value back. Offer to help with everything: social media, research, administrative tasks, building out that sales team, hiring, retaining staff, helping them establish themselves as a key authority in dermatology, increasing their credibility, increasing their visibility. Show that you're serious about learning, not just someone looking for free advice. If you want a blueprint for finding and working out with a mentor, remember, you can go to the Mahogany Dermatology Nursing bookstore and you can get your copy of Your Nurse Mentorship Match. It walks you through how to find a mentor, scripts, whether you're calling or contacting someone on social media, and it lets you know what you need. Because if you've never been in a position, you don't even know what your needs are. And so it's not just for students, but we also include a section for students at the bachelor's level, the master's level, and the doctoral level on the kind of support they need at each of those phases, because it's different. And like I said, they don't know it until they know it. And it's just like being dehydrated. By the time they ask for help, they're probably already drowning. And so this helps you get ahead of that. Everything is not avoidable, but there are solutions and strategies to everything because people have already walked the path that you're about to take. So let's talk about the stuff nobody mentions in the Instagram ads for injections. Number 1, it's a sales job. Number 2, it's physically demanding. And number 3, it's emotionally exhausting. You're not just managing procedures, you're managing emotions. People come to you with insecurities, unrealistic expectations, sometimes body dysmorphia. You need to evaluate for that every single time. Since I last saw you, we had Derm Week, which happens at least twice a year. I can't remember if it happens 3 times. And one of my favorites, Dr. Beth Haney, she's written one of the books that we recommended. I just put out our 2026 Cosmetic NP Starter Kit. And on that includes one of her books, written by an NP for other NPs. She's been in this industry for a long time, and she's involved in policy and education, which I absolutely love. Anyway, she taught one of the sessions, and she talked about how she always evaluates for body dysmorphia. Always, always, always. You have to navigate that with compassion while maintaining your boundaries. And when results don't meet expectations, even if you did everything right, you absorb that emotional labor. We talked about vicarious trauma earlier this year on the Melanin Initiative. I invite you to check that out. Always love when we can dedicate one of our episodes to you guys. That's something I'm very passionate about at this phase in my career. And so very, very grateful to Kirby Williams, a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner in Richmond, Virginia, who was kind enough to lend her expertise to bring awareness to vicarious trauma and how it impacts all of us. Okay, let's back up. So the sales job. You want to be the best injector, but if you can't communicate value, educate patients, and confidently recommend treatments, you're not going to make it. You're selling. Every consultation is a sales conversation. And if that makes you uncomfortable, you need to either get comfortable with it or reconsider. It's physically demanding. Standing for hours, repetitive hand motions, fine motor precision. This work takes a physical toll. That carpal tunnel, back pain, neck strain, these are real risks. You need to take care of your body. Ergonomic support, stretching, strength training, asking for what you need when you get hired on. Learning curve, very, very, very steep. Even 12 months out, NPs have complained that they're still struggling. So you can take a course and learn the basics, but becoming great takes years. But don't let that deter you. Just let that set you up for expectations, maintain your humility, keep asking your questions. And it's kind of the difference between knowing you're going out for a sprint versus knowing that you're going out for a marathon. Complications will happen. You will make mistakes. You will have patients who are not happy. That's part of the journey. The key is having systems in place to manage those complications, having mentors to guide you through the tough cases. Number 5, business acumen matters more than you think. Most cosmetic NPs fail because they're bad. They don't fail because they're bad clinicians. It's because they're business owners who don't have the acumen that they need. So undercharging, overspending, not marketing efficiently, not tracking the numbers. If you're going to be a founder, you must develop business skills. Take courses, read books, listen to a podcast, hire a coach. Don't try to wing it. Join the alliance. The SWOT analysis. Okay, so let's do this. This is the way we look at our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So strengths. You have the opportunity to earn high earning potential. This is anything. Anything you decide to do, you can always have this. Career flexibility. This is nursing. Creative fulfillment. Ability to build deep patient relationships. The weaknesses, high startup costs. Okay, that means it's going to cost a lot. You're not going to make a lot. Inconsistent regulations. We went over that. Physical and emotional demands. Opportunities, rapidly growing market, new technologies, underserved populations. I've talked about skin of color, but there's the LGBTQ plus community, older adults, people who speak a certain language, who live in certain regions of the country, veterans, you name it. You can find a niche for anything. I told you. I can't think of his name right now, but he's an esthetician out in LA, and he caters to men. And even more specifically, he has a special service for men who have gone through chemo. Like, just you can just find any niche and find really fulfilling work there. The threats, well, the market saturation in some areas, right? Florida, hello. Litigation risk and regulatory changes. So, is this path right for you? Well, ask yourself, did you thrive in high pressure, fast paced environments before? Are you prepared to manage patient emotions, not just clinical outcomes? Do you have the business acumen, or are you willing to learn it? And what does your schedule look like that you can actually do both to navigate a commercially driven field? And are you comfortable with physical demands and the sales aspects of the role? There's so much to learn. So in the Alliance, we actually have 2 workshops every week. One is on a business focused, and the other is skin of color. So if your answer is yes, welcome. This field is for you. If your answer is no, or you're not sure, that's okay. This is just one of 10 career paths that you're going to hear about. We covered 20 in the book. We're going to go over 10 in our upcoming workshop. And you might find one that fits better, right? So let me hear from you. If you're currently a cosmetic NP or you're thinking about becoming one, what's your biggest question or concern about this path, especially if you've been doing it? Really, really love to hear from you on what you see where the future going, and what you really think those coming into the field really where they need to focus their attention, especially knowing the struggle with finding mentorship, knowing the struggle with finding employment. All right. So what I want you to walk away with today, being a cosmetic nurse practitioner is one way to build a career in aesthetics, but it's not the only way. This role requires a unique blend of clinical skill, artistic vision, emotional intelligence, and business acumen. Very rewarding, very lucrative, but also demanding. But that's nursing, right? Before you invest thousands of dollars in a Botox course, just ask yourself, is this the role I want? Or is there another path in cosmetics that aligns better with my strengths and goals? That's what this series is all about. So in the upcoming weeks, we'll continue to explore other pathways. Your nursing background is a superpower in this industry. The question isn't whether you belong here, it's whether you fit best. Where do you fit best? And the truth is, you don't have to figure it out alone. That's the best part in nursing. I've gone through so many different programs in school. I have more than one degree before I came to nursing. And the most fun I had was when I got into nursing, because I was never alone after that. Never alone. If this episode helped you think more clearly about your path, here's what I want you to do next. You can go to the Mahogany Dermatology blog and read our whole series. And I'm trying to think, did we share? Sometimes we share some of the episodes on the Melanin Initiative. I can't remember if we did or not. But you can find the whole series there, Beyond the Needle. And we break down also policy priorities, educational blueprint, and provide you with all the resources you can think of. If you're serious about building a career in cosmetics, we want to welcome you to the Alliance. That's our private coaching and mentorship community where you're going to get that weekly ongoing support, especially if you're serious about business, either building your business or someone else's right now. Like every week you want to show up and do something. That's really what we're here for. I just want to thank you for joining in. We're going to continue this Beyond the Needle series because I just think it's so valuable. And you can find us here every week at Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central Time with a new episode. And if you're subscribed and you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified anytime I go live so I can answer your questions in real time. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.